this discussion.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and also to share with Kenyans how we can embrace the new government and even work with the government of the day and revive the economy.
All right, so that's interesting, Kotunyo. Now, we have seen since the swearing in of the cabinet secretaries, a lot of activities have been going around, have been going on in different dockets. Today, of course, probably what is most recent is the old cabinet of the former president Uhuru Kenyatta handing over to the new cabinet secretary. So, with what you have seen so far, because when they are being handed over these dockets, we have seen some of them, of course, like the trade cabinet secretary, that is Moses Kuria, is already in South Africa, ready to welcome the President William Ruto for the bilateral talks. And of course, you also have seen today the foreign cabinet secretaries, that is Alfred Mutua, holding a meeting with the employees who employ people in the Western countries, rather in the countries in the Middle East. So the pace that you have seen this new cabinet coming in with, will they help really this government deliver the ambitious promises the government of the day had during the campaign period?
First of all, I want to appreciate and congratulate the newly installed CSS at different capacities. And then two, I really want to appreciate what they have already taken in terms of the first days in office, whereby like yesterday and the other day we saw CS Ababu Namamba Sports. Today we've seen Alfred Mutua, and then we've also seen Moses Kuria. All this is majorly to help revive the dilapidated economy, and I believe going forward, if it is properly done with good intentions, without any hidden agendas, then I believe we will automatically revive the economy under this leadership.
All right. And of course, probably in talking on the line of reviving the economy and probably meeting all the promises that were made to the electorate. We have seen today ODM leader Raila Odinga when he was in the burial service, of course, of the Governor Barasa, who lost the mother. He was saying that this government has been lying to the people of Kenya because during the campaigns period, whatever President William Ruto said, that when they take office, the first thing they're going to deal with is lowering the price of fuel, the price of unga, and this is not happening any soon because President was on record saying that let Kenyans give him time. I said not in 100 days, but in 1 year, that is when probably Kenyans will feel the impact of food prices and fuel prices being lowered. So why are we seeing different scripts from leaders of the same country?
First of all, to our esteemed leader, that is Raila Amolo Odinga, we want to appreciate the fact that he accepted the results and we have a peaceful state. He has all the rights as the chief of opposition to criticize everything that the government is doing. But fact be said, and we must stand with facts. And I'm going to be telling Kenyans that this government is new, and therefore we must give the government of the day time, enough time, to at least achieve what they really planned for this state. And to the newly installed CSS, today I think we can start counting the 100 days right from just 3 days, 4 days ago. This is the time they have just been installed. They have just been given the keys to these offices. They are trying to find their ways. So after the lapse of 100 days, right from the days they were installed, that is the time we can now say the government is failing. But as of now, it is still early to preempt that going forward, the the government is going to fall. So I want to tell the Azimio team that they have the right to criticize, but logically, even if they were the ones who ought to have been in the same position, then we could be very, very sober enough to give them time right after handing over. You only held someone accountable once he has been given the mandate by the given bodies. That is when, from there, you can now say you were given a given period of time, it's not properly done. Then why were you saying the different take of your manifesto? Yes.
All right, interesting. Now, another thing that popped up today, because, we understand the leader of opposition, Raila Odinga, was in the Western Kenya, and one of the leaders, of course, in the Western Kenya, who is so vocal and served the people of Sirisia, that is in the Western counties, Honorable John Waluke, who was sentenced for 67 years in prison. Raila Odinga said today that it was unfair of how the court handled the matter of Sirisia MP John Waluke, and of course he demanded that John Waluke should probably release on bond. So whatever Odinga was saying is that the government of the day was punishing Waluke because of his political affiliations. Because on the same note, of course, he also raised concern concerning the DPP, of course, dropping charges to some of the cabinet secretaries who were just sworn in the other day, because they also had cases in court and, prior to their swearing in, prior to their vetting in Parliament, some of their cases were being dropped. The DPP is citing that there was not enough or sufficient evidence meeting the threshold for them to be prosecuted. So what do you make of this when Odinga is now calling for the release of John Waluke? Do you think probably this would also give a leeway for some of these criminal activities to be done in the country, and of course probably when it comes to the prosecution, you find that the opposition will be saying this and probably even the government will be defending them in saying one or two things?
Based on my own understanding, we must be in a position to accept that the supreme law must be respected. And when the law found out that Major Waluke was guilty, I think in their own thinking, they were right as per what they gave. To our Azimio leader, if he is ready and in his own thinking, think that what the law or what the judges did to Major Waluke was not equally right, then it ought to have been said at the funeral. He ought to have taken the lead by going to the courts and requesting that even in writing. Then it's like Raila is out to give the listeners what they want to listen to.
Right.
Not the solution. Because if you go to a funeral and then you start saying such, it will be like, for me, I was for your son. Yet the sitting government is the one frustrating our son. I'll not love it to go that road. I'll prefer that he takes the lead to the courts, and then thereafter let the rule of law be followed. Not like what is doing in barazas and Jivanji gardens and things to do with the burial sites. I don't think that's what the class and the calibers of Raila.
All right. Now, Kotade, maybe finally, as we wind on Raila Odinga, of course, now the chief of opposition in this, we heard yesterday when the second in command, Rigathi Gachagua, was in Murang'a County in Kandara, saying that they actually told off the chief of the opposition, Raila Odinga, saying that we don't want you anywhere close to this government. When he's made an example that when Raila Odinga made a handshake with the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, he spoiled everything. That is, I'm quoting, of course, on what he said. That you remember when they had the handshake, what happened to the government? They spoiled everything. So, do you want him close to this government? The answer could not be in the affirmative. So, what does this mean really? And of course, moving forward, is it really necessary? Because he's saying the Rigathi Gachagua was alleging that people are trying to coerce the government to work with the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. So, at this point, do you think whatever the second in command is saying is right? That they really don't need this mzee, this Raila Amolo Odinga, of course, in the government, and probably if he gets a chance to work with this government, will he be of any impact to this government?
First, our DP is right in his own statements. Just as we saw the other time, handshakes are not bad, but under what circumstances? Because each and every handshake, it must come with a price. As we speak, the Kenya Kwanza team are in a position and they are ready to rally their manifesto going forward. It is right to say that Raila should not be close to the government. He should be in the oversight side.
Right.
And the moment he will be coming close to the current Kenya Kwanza government, who will now be leading the chief opposition leaders to keep the current government in check. It will not be okay because one, they were not having the same manifesto. The manifesto for Azimio is quite different from the manifesto which is being implemented by the current Kenya Kwanza government. And therefore, they will be reading from different scripts. And by that, it will properly delay service delivery. Thereafter, it will be like you joined us, and then we will automatically be owning the blame. We don't want to assume that Raila will be owning the blame.
But maybe continue if just to ask on that, because you see the current setup of the Kenya Kwanza government, where President William Ruto is at the top, and whoever comes the third most powerful person, not according to the constitution, but the arrangement they do to the executive order that were made. That is the leader of ANC, Musalia Mudavadi, who is now the chief cabinet secretary to this government. So you understand that really, even before the formation of the Kenya Kwanza government, we had ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi. They were in the One Kenya. Was it the One Kenya, right? They were in the One Kenya with, of course, Moses Wetangula together with Kalonzo Musyoka, and now later on when this integrated, when Kalonzo Musyoka, of course, went to Azimio, making it Azimio One Kenya, and of course they came together with Wetangula to Kenya Kwanza, joining UDA rather to form the Kenya Kwanza government. So, do you think probably this is something that might, of course, probably even work, because they were reading from different scripts and people could not even imagine that ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi could work with the government, could work with UDA to form the Kenya Kwanza government. So is it probably the same thing that could happen? As much as yes, Azimio had a different manifesto with what this government had, they can still, align their dipoles and work together probably if it's anything to go by.
In politics, continue for pray that in politics people have interest, and we have interest and offers. When it comes to the just concluded election, Kenya Kwanza team, before the chief minister joined, there were some negotiations in terms of numbers, in terms of regions, in terms of who can help us implement the said KK manifesto. And what was offered to chief minister is the reason as to why he decided to jump the ship. towards the end of this election, there were some other negotiations where the current CS for Foreign Affairs, Dr. Alfred Mutua,
Yes.
crossed over. He crossed over because the negotiations and the offers which were based and placed before him were better than the ones which he was promised in the Azimio.
The Azimio cabinet.
Correct. Therefore, if in case, leaving that aside, if in case the president or the KK government maybe plans to work together with Azimio, I don't think that will be for the good of the common mwananchi. Because it will be like dancing and dining with your enemy. Yet, you want things done to this great nation.
Right.
Yes.
All right, and probably Kotonde, on the same note, when this handshake was made in 2018, was it really necessary? Because was it really necessary? Because we understand probably in 2018 there were divisions in this country where people, there are people who are following the sitting government. Of course, we also had people who are strongly held to the opposing government, that is Raila Amolo Odinga. Now, when Raila Amolo Odinga, when they made this handshake, they said they did this great sacrifice to unite this country. Now, looking at probably the chances that might lead to another handshake in this regime, is it really necessary, really, that probably Odinga might come, not even Odinga, but any other person who is in the opposition, who is not working with the government, probably coming that saying that we have a gap here, we have a lacuna that probably needs to be filled with another form of handshake?
Back in 2018, if I can take you back then, immediately after the election, the state of events was there was kind of like a division whereby people were saying we don't need to be led by this government, the just concluded government of Jubilee. And therefore, it was like the country was unmanageable. And the only person who could quell this tension was by bringing Raila on board. Because he had a great following. By bringing him on board, it did not mean that he was not part and parcel of that very, very government. But it was just to quell the tension, to at least make stuff run going forward. As we speak, I don't see any sign of tension. Because the election was done,
Yes.
there is no tension. The results were announced, nobody complained. The whole state respected the court rulings, and therefore there is no need for calling for an alarm.
All right. Now, maybe on that, because you've noted that there's no form of tension that would necessitate a handshake. But looking at probably now, because what necessitated the 2018 handshake was the division that was in the country. But now, the problem at hand right now is reviving the economy. We understand that during the campaign periods, Raila Odinga was campaigning on the docket, saying that he wants the third liberation of this country, which would be the economic liberation. And of course, even on the Kenya Kwanza front, when they were campaigning, the majorly campaign was on the side of the economy. Now we are seeing a country that is suffering economically, and maybe if to revive this country economically, what we would need is technocrats and not just politicians who will be, yapping here, yapping on the other side, saying a lot of things and probably no actions. Now, we've seen today what happened. The Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, launching a project that is aimed at creating 1 million jobs for the next 1 year. And of course, the same government promised that in December they will be launching the Hustler Fund to help this government. So looking at now the thing that were promised, and probably one or two things that have been implemented so far, do you see this government within the span of these elected, within the span of their term, delivering of course to the mandate they had, and probably liberating this country economically as they had anticipated during the campaign periods?
The current government is trying her best. One, people really talked about it, but it was not right. They introduced the GMOs. By doing that, they were doing so to at least rejuvenate the current economy, the current dilapidated economy.
Mm-hmm.
That, I can say, could help. Two, the same government subsidized fertilizers.
Yes.
Which they were doing that such that towards the end of the tunnel, at least they will find time to at least rejuvenate and revive this economy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and also these projects which the DP just started will automatically spearhead a lot of opportunities for our youths,
yes,
who are so much in need of job, and the moment they're kept busy, the economy will automatically rise.
Right.
Yes, and therefore I want to appreciate that it might not really take the shortest time so far, but going forward, as I said earlier, let us give the government of the day time.
Right.
If it is not given time, then we will automatically be keeping on questioning, and also just a matter of not understanding what it takes to run a government.
All right.
Things must be placed in order. And you cannot lie that within 30 days or 1-2 months, things are already in place. No,
right.
Things must be put in place, and therefore, let's give this government time, proper time.
All right.
30 days will automatically move. But for reviving the economy, it will automatically take about 1,000 days.
All right.
Close to 3 years.
All right, Utonde, that is very, of course, making a lot of sense to the Kenyans. Probably as we wind up, I'll give you a minute to wind up this. What would be a final take? Of course, probably telling Kenyans what they need to know, and probably what they need to do in order to help this government achieve its mandate. Just in a minute.
Okay. Fellow Kenyans, I want this message to reach home to each and every corner of the state, and even the diasporans. The government is new, and when the new government is in place, you must be ready to go through hard times. The government is new. The CSS in place, some are very new. They have never been in such positions. Let's give them time. 2, to our counties, it is your time to work with the government. Counties presumed to be Azimio zones, that is Western, Nyanza, Mombasa, that is coastal region. It is time to work with the government. The government of the day is none other than Kenya Kwanza. And by not working with the current government of the day, you are denying Kenyans great services which ought to have been trickled down to them. And I want to request that the MCAs, you are also given money. Empower the people on the ground. Give the governors time. We don't want to see the wrangles which we just witnessed down here, Meru. By fighting, having unnecessary wrangles, you delay service delivery to the country. You delay service delivery to the common mwananchi. As they always say, that when people are fighting, majorly when the bulls are fighting, those who are feeling the pinch and the wrath, the grass, quench your thirst. I know those fights are promulgated by one or two persons who are having the interest of maybe being a governor.
Right.
Kindly stop the fights. Let's get back to business and bring this state to a greater level, because it is already dilapidated.
All right, that's it. Thank you so much, Kotonde, for that. We're taking a very short break.